All right, today we are diving into something pretty mind-bending. It's called the Holographic Entropic Receipt Theory, or HERT for short. And what it suggests is a single universal rule that might just govern everything. And I mean everything, from the biggest stars down to a single thought in your head. And this quote from Thomas Sowell, man, it just nails the core idea. Here it is all about the idea that existence isn't about finding some perfect final solution. It's about a constant, fundamental trade-off. It's a universal balancing act. So what is this trade-off? Well, let's think about it. You've got a star, right? Burning away for billions of years. Then you have a single living cell, busy doing its thing. And then a fleeting conscious thought. What on earth could possibly tie these three things together? The answer is actually pretty simple, but it's profound. To maintain their own internal order, every single one of them has to push disorder out. They all need an exhaust system. In other words, to stay organized, you have to get rid of the chaos. And that leads us right to the first big principle of the theory, this constant battle between order and disorder, between coherence and entropy. HERT says this isn't just a neat little observation, it's the fundamental rule of existence. It's a trade-off every single system has to deal with just to survive. So let's break that down. On one side, you've got coherence. This is all about order, structure. You can think of it like a perfectly clean and organized room. But on the other side, you've got entropy. That's the mess, the disorder, the chaos. And to keep that room clean, what do you have to do? You have to constantly take out the trash. Well, HERT says the entire universe works exactly the same way. Okay, so how does this actually work? What is the engine that's running this whole cosmic balancing act between order and chaos? The theory gives a specific, kind of weird name to this exhaust: loosh. Loosh is the physical evidence that a system is cleaning house. It's literally the heat coming off a living cell. It's the radiation pouring away from a star. It's the measurable stuff that's left over when a system works to stay organized. And the shape of this engine? Well, it's a shape you see everywhere in nature. It's called a torus, basically a donut. You can see how it works. Energy flows in, circulates through the middle where it gets processed, and then it radiates back out as that entropy exhaust, that lush. But here's the kicker. That exhaust then loops back around, creating this amazing continuous feedback system. It's like nature's ultimate recycling engine. Now, here's where it gets really cool. Because once you understand this flow, this toroidal engine, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. And I mean at every single scale of reality. And this is the proof in the pudding, right here. A star keeps its fusion core stable by pumping out radiation. A cell uses the superorganized energy of ATP and then breathes out heat and CO2. A hurricane forms over warm ocean water and exhausts infrared heat. Heck, even your brain creates organized, coherent thoughts while giving off heat from all that neural firing. It's the same dynamic again and again and again. You know, the fact that this same pattern plays out from a star all the way down to a single brain cell, that's not a coincidence. This principle actually has a name. It's called recursive scaling. So I know what you're thinking. This is a beautiful theory. It's elegant. But is there any actual proof? Well, the people behind HERT claim the evidence is written into the fabric of the cosmos itself. They call it the cosmic receipt. And that proof, they say, is hiding in plain sight, in the oldest light we can possibly see, the cosmic microwave background, the CMB. This is literally the afterglow of the Big Bang. It's a baby picture of our entire universe. Now, according to the theory, every single time a system pushes out entropy, it leaves behind a little measurable footprint, a coherence receipt. And what HERT proposes is that the tiny, subtle patterns we see in the CMB, those are the very first receipts ever left by the universe itself. So what do these cosmic receipts actually say? Well, first, scientists measured something called the temperature entropy slope of the universe. And the number they got was -0.02. Now, that number might not sound exciting, but what's incredible is how ridiculously close to zero it is. It suggests the early universe was in a state of near-perfect balance between creating chaos and containing it, a system in equilibrium. Now let's talk statistics, because this is where it gets wild.
In physics, they use a measure called sigma to tell you how sure they are that a discovery isn't just a random fluke. Well, the receipts they found in the CMB's temperature have a sigma of 7 to 9.
And it gets even better. For the polarization receipts, which is another feature of that ancient light, the confidence level is even higher. We're talking 9 to 12 sigma. Just to put that into perspective for you, getting a result over 5 sigma is considered the absolute gold standard in physics. I mean, that's Nobel Prize territory. The numbers we're talking about here are so exceptionally high, they suggest these patterns are absolutely real features of the early universe, not just some random noise. So, what does all this mean? I mean, really, if this theory actually holds up, it could completely change how we think about reality itself. Here's a really powerful way to think about it. Imagine nature as a vector graphic, not a pixelated JPEG image. When you zoom into a JPEG, it gets all blocky and falls apart. But a vector graphic, you can scale it up infinitely and it stays perfectly sharp. Why? Because it's based on mathematical relationships, not a fixed grid of pixels. HERT suggests nature's laws work the same way. They scale perfectly across the universe because they're based on that fundamental relationship between order and chaos. So let's just wrap our heads around what this is suggesting. It's suggesting that the very same rules govern atoms and life and entire galaxies. That reality isn't a collection of static things, but a dynamic, constant flow of information. That every single system, from a star to a thought, leaves behind a measurable imprint of its existence. And maybe, just maybe, consciousness itself is one of these self-aware toroidal loops, constantly balancing its own inner world with the universe outside. And all of that leaves us with one last, pretty deep question to chew on. If every system, from a star to a cell to a single thought, leaves behind an entropic receipt of its existence, what kind of receipt are you creating?